Good morning. Today is Sunday, November the 1st in year 2020. And this is a really special day in our church. Every year on November the 1st, the church asks us to celebrate what we call All Saints' Day. Now, what does that mean? What do we mean, All Saints' Day? What do we mean by saint? Well, the church teaches us that a saint are generally people who have died, they've gone to heaven, and they're there now with our Blessed Mother, with her Son Jesus, our Savior, and they are there giving praise to God. But while they're doing that, they're also watching out for you and me. So a saint is a person who's gone to heaven, and I'm going to talk in a minute, too, about saints that might be here on earth, too. So we've kind of got like two groups of saints, if you will. What does a saint mean? How do you get to be a saint? Well, first of all, for both those people who've already gone to heaven and for those of us who are here on earth, being a saint does not mean we're perfect. It does not mean that we don't make mistakes. It does not mean that sometimes we don't get mad at ourselves or we get mad at other people. Saints were not perfect people. But a saint is someone, either in heaven or still on earth, who tries to love God with all their heart. They try to follow what Jesus taught when he was living on earth. And they try to be good to other people. Now, there are some famous saints, and then there's some saints that we don't know too much about at all. For example, we know who Saint Mary is. She's the mother of Jesus. We know about Saint Joseph. He was the foster father to Jesus. We know about Saint Peter, for example, who was the person that Jesus entrusted the beginning of our church to take care and to lead and to guide it. Here at the Franciscan Renewal Center, now we're really partial to these two saints. We're partial to St. Francis and we're partial to St. Clare. There are many, many saints in the church. Like in March, for example, you may know we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. You may know in October we celebrate St. Francis Day. So different saints are given different days during the year for us to remember them and to ask for their prayers. But on November the 1st, the church gives us this feast of all the saints. Now, those are the saints in heaven. Those are people who are there, they've gone before us. And some of the famous ones, well, let me ask you this. How do you think you get to be a famous saint and not just a saint that's not so famous? A famous saint, and the church gives us these people for examples, the church puts them before us so that we can think about how these people lived. We call these saints the Canonized Saints. Now that's a fancy word that means the church has really said, okay, these are some people you should really think about and watch and see how they acted. How did they live? How did they do what Jesus asked of them? They lived in different countries. They lived in different time frames. But they're people that the church gives us as examples and models that we should try to be like them. Every person, whether that person's already in heaven and they have all the love of God totally around them, or people like you and me who are still down here on earth, the main thing about being a saint is trying to love God with all our heart and do what Jesus asked us. Now think about this. Have you ever heard somebody in your family say, oh, he's a saint, or she's a saint, and they're still alive? Well, what does that say? What we're talking about there are people like you and me who once again try to love God with our whole heart, our whole soul, our whole mind, and that's an everyday responsibility and privilege. But we might say, for example, our uncle's a saint. And what does that mean? It means that he's not perfect, once again, but he's trying to do good things. He's trying to love people. He admits his mistakes. He asks for forgiveness. He tries to be polite to people that he meets. When he's been maybe unkind or said something hateful or untruthful or told a lie about something or somebody, he asks God to forgive him, give him the strength now to do better. So you got the saints in heaven, and everything is fine with them. And they're the models, they're the big saints, the big name saints, you might say, who give us example, and we try to follow them as best we can. And what does it mean to be in communion with all of these saints? So what does that mean? Well, the word communion means that we're joined together. And it's just like when we receive Holy Communion, and some of you will be doing that in the next few years. That means when you receive communion, you're joined to Jesus through the gift of the Holy Eucharist. The communion of saints are those people, both living and deceased, that we want to be in union with. We want to try to be like them. We want to be with them, and we want them to be with us. And sometimes we'll say, oh, I'm going to pray to let's say St. Clare. She was a great lady, and she was a very good friend of St. Francis. So we might pray for St. Clare to help us be good and kind to people. We might ask we call it intercession. We ask for her to receive our prayers, and because she is there with Jesus, she has a way of communicating, telling Jesus what we've asked her. Everything always goes to Jesus. And all the saints, especially those ones that I mentioned a while ago that are canonized, the church says these are your models, these are your examples, they always kept their eyes fixed on Jesus. So every day of the year, or almost every day of the year, we might have a saint that we celebrate. However, on the first day of November of every year, the church says to you and me, let's remember all of these saints. So we're kind of giving them one big celebration on a particular day, and that happens to be November the 1st. Now, what I'd like to ask you to do in your home there with your families, I'd like to ask you all to talk about who are some of the famous saints, because some of us have saints' names, but who are some of the saints still here on earth that you know, people that you love, people that you care about, who are good and kind to you, and they show you good example. So all of that, I'm going to say now, again, on November the 1st, Happy All Saints' Day.